call this meeting to order for the May 26, 2022 Apple Valley Economic Development Authority. Welcome. Due to the pandemic, the meeting is both a web broadcast and on a virtual access template to allow remote participation. I would like to welcome our in-person and virtual attendees to the meeting. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from staff?
Madam President, no changes from staff.
Commissioners, do we have any changes?
Nothing for me.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion prevails. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. These items are considered routine and will be enacted with a single motion unless a commissioner requests to pull an item. Commissioners, are there any items you wish to pull this evening? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion prevails. At this point, we'll move on to the regular agenda item 4A. Bruce, I assume you're taking this item?
Madam President and Commissioners, this evening, the requested action is to authorize EDA funding in partnership with Times Square and 3 adjacent business locations to address stormwater concerns. The properties involved are on the stormwater issue is along the north property line of Times Square, but as you'll find in the presentation, it's impacted by drainage from multiple property owners, and so staff has sought a shared solution that they'll present this evening. More specifically, you can see that if you were to go back to the property lines are indicated on the next diagram, and so interestingly enough, there's no public right-of-way, there's no drainage and utility easements, there is nothing in the shared property line, yet to these percentages, each of the adjoining property owners really has a stormwater solution that happens to be on the very north property line of the Times Square property. This all began back in it might have started over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
When we had properties subdivided without drainage and utility accommodation, and everyone was benefiting from this drainage location on the Times Square property. It worked really well till about 2016 when city public works staff discovered, well, we seem to have extra water coming from the sanitary sewer, and what's that all about? And because there was, at this location, there was a grate, the stormwater was using the sanitary sewer, if you follow it over, to a location here, which is the sanitary sewer line. Well, being the responsible employees they are, they put a hard manhole cover over it, and it's been sealed since, as has the discharge of stormwater. And so it collects routinely, drains to this location and collects here, and weakens the pavement, and standing water of up to a foot when there's a hole in the pavement has occurred. So the solution is to add a stormwater solution here closer to the property line, and actually the storm sewer, there are a couple extra dashes there, but the storm sewer runs right along the curb of the private Granada and would drain into a public sewer installed in the private Granada Avenue. Actually, the required steps are that the city, to do what I've just described, the city engineer would arrange the design, construction, scope of work, and supervision of the project. A public-private project, which has yet to be determined, because we oftentimes do private installs, but we could also manage it as a city-approved project, requires that the financial deposits I'm going to describe to you be made in advance of any project announcement to proceed. The north properties, if we were to go back to, the north properties are each contributing $11,000. That means we're getting $11,000 from 7570, 147th, 11,000 from 7600, 147th, and then collectively from the Granada shops, which holds title to these three locations, will be collecting an additional $11,000. Finally, the contribution from Times Square, either as the buyer or the seller, and that is being worked out between Times Square and a future buyer, would be $35,000, and the request this evening is for the EDA to contribute $33,000, as I'll further explain. I've shared some of this already, and assessment waivers are required. Owners must provide a drainage, utility, and access easement in a recorder form on both sides of the Times Square property lines so that the work can be completed. Times Square is contributing the 35, and an amount of 33,000 is sought by the city. In 2001 from the Dakota County CDA, the Dakota County CDA has declined to support the project because it has both public and private elements. They really wanted to support it if it's a public, literally a public project within a public controlled location, which this is not, and that was what threw us out. More importantly, we have multiple ownerships involved here. Starting over here, the Granada shops, Maggie Linville Smith, I'm sure you've met her sometime along the way. The AV 147th Properties LLC is Keith Spurback, and he's already confirmed he's in. And the 147th Street Limited Partnership property has Jim Rosinski and Brett Foss as owners, as a partnership. The G&D Investment is Deb Hopt, and the BDF is Metro Equities. And what they've done here is that this particular building is really condominiumized, and it's 4 different owners, 4 different people that have an ownership interest in that building. And then, of course, Times Square, Bob Levine, or an investment group led by Marlene Leva, who lives in Apple Valley. And the investment group is called 4 West Capital Investment, and they're the buyer. I've worked both with Bob Levine and with the attorney representing 4 West Capital Investment, and they're both aware. There's no surprises. They also want, everyone wants to see it being addressed. And the reason why I bring it up is it's never been the sole reason why the property hasn't sold yet, but in terms of the sale to 4 West Capital Investment, I'm told by both the buyer and the seller that it will either occur on June 30th or July 1st. So it's going to occur very quickly, and it was a short-term timeline, not a lot of due diligence period. But I wanted to go back, and because it really started in 2019 with Venture Pass Partners, a partnership of former CSM retail specialists had formed an investment development group, and they tried to complete a sale with Mr. Levine, and they were not successful. Then in 2019 and 2020, Interstate Development, and you might know Lonnie Preventure, who was our point person on this. He's also an Apple Valley resident. We actually had a city-approved project, and it included Portillo's. And right after the city approvals and the anticipation of moving ahead with the project, Portillo's wished to change their deal with Interstate Development, and it killed the deal. And there was no return. Something similar happened in Bloomington, so Bloomington doesn't have a Portillo's. Maple Grove and Woodbury do, but they also, we would learn later, that this was an operating approach. Last minute changes to the deal that occurred even where they got an approved project and a built restaurant. So just very difficult. It would have involved an entire renovation of the center. It would have involved having a Portillo's, which people would enjoy, and we advocated for, and it just didn't work out. And also in 2020, later in the year, Metro Equity Management, who owns the theater building, the Fit Academy building, and that happens to be their tenant at that location now. They tried to complete a deal and wanted to change some terms toward the end, and that doesn't work well with Mr. Levine usually. So again, it failed. Then a group from Blaine called Minnesota Capital Management presented it as an investment opportunity, and what they really wanted to do was create a golf venue in the middle of the center, and then the retailers on the edges could stay if they wish. That didn't work out. They I think had an issue with in terms of Minnesota Capital Management, they had an issue with capital. So the 2022 is the 4 West Capital Investment. I've explained who is the lead person on that from Apple Valley. And both parties say it's moving ahead. And I happened to look at Jody when I said that, and she's been through all 5 of these. And my credibility in saying something is moving ahead at Times Square is low, but it gives us plenty of opportunity for growth. So the topic at hand this evening is the EDA financial considerations. Funds are available in decertified TIF District Number 7, which includes these parcels when the district was active. Stormwater improvements are an eligible use of tax increment. The requested funding matches contributions by the affected parties. A willingness to contribute to fix the stormwater concern by the EDA is actually sought by the owners, particularly the small businesses, when I speak to this. And it also serves a public purpose, as been confirmed with the city attorney. The total project cost contributes to the time and oversight of the city attorney and engineer, so it's not a cash, it's built in to the resources, so that's not an additional cost to the city side of our ledger. And the city attorney and engineer are prepared to have a final scope of work, plan, and agreements to manage funds flow as either a public or a private project. So with that, Unless we have other questions or want to go back to any of the exhibits, the request is to authorize the EDA funding in the amount of $33,000 in partnership with Times Square and 3 adjacent business locations to address stormwater concerns, all shared by the business and without other resources at the moment.
Thank you, Bruce. Maybe some of us would be willing to contribute that almost lost a tire, wondering if there's big potholes underneath that water. I mean, it's been a problem for a long time.
Well, it has, and it was patched. And matter of fact, it's been patched multiple times, but standing water, you just can't hold the patch. So.
Questions from the commissioners?
I would move approval as presented.
I would second.
Motion by Hoopa, second by Goodwin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion prevails. Well, we look forward to the outcome of the June 30th transaction.
Thank you all. The one comment I'll make is while the closing date is certain, the project, well, first off, staff has to continue to work with some of the business owners, and now I can report that the EDA supports this. That is kind of something that they all appreciate, number one. Number two, a supply of the most simplest product you'd think that we would have in our business, storm sewer pipe, is incredibly difficult, and so the timing may extend into the ownership of the next buyer, or the buyer, and will I believe they're prepared to be part of this. So.
You think they are or they are?
I was on the phone today for a half hour with the attorney representing the buyer, and they are looking for this. They see this as a solution. They want me to call them tomorrow and tell them, and I think they are, and I'm not going to look at Jody when I say that, just because of how difficult this particular transaction has been.
We're hoping not to see it on the agenda again. Any staff updates?
I have no staff updates, but Tom does have a staff update.
Madam President, I do have a staff update, and it involves Bruce himself. So many of you have heard this information, but I don't think it has been voiced to the EDA. I want to make certain that all parties are aware of this. But Bruce has announced his retirement from our city. The effective date would be August 31st. He announced this at the last Planning Commission meeting back on May 18th. And it's actually on the city council agenda tonight to accept his resignation. So you still have a little time to reconsider, but it's getting close here. So just wanted to acknowledge Bruce's great work with our city, both as our community development director and certainly as a valued member here of the EDA and the work that's happened over time. And I just want to make certain publicly that we say that, and we'll say it many times between now and the end of August. But just want to make certain that in the minutes of the EDA, we reflect that announcement.
Thank you, Tom. We have 3 months yet to roast you, Bruce, but obviously you know how important of what you've done for this city for the last 15 years, and we're going to miss you. It's starting to sink in. I saw the picture at the chamber fund, the chamber luncheon, State of the City yesterday, and it's starting to sink in. But we got 3 months, so thank you.
Thank you. And I hope to be around to finish this one. So we'll add
will
that.
be.
We'll add that to the challenge. Let's not get ahead. This is a funny business, but it's a good path. Thank you for your support.
Commissioner Goodwin.
I just want to thank you for 15 excellent years. Appreciate all you've done for the city. I think your work's been excellent for 15 years. I said that to you the other day, but I just like to say it publicly.
A capstone like this for my career is very special, and this was it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Anything from the commissioners to add? Now is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Bergman made the motion and Goodwin the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion prevails. We stand adjourned.
Nice job pinch hitting.